of all, thanks Kiran and Adit for sparing time today to do this. I'll probably start with a short introduction about Adit and Kiran, and then both of them can take over. So, Adit, who's the co-founder of Wobot.ai, started his career um, in 2010 with JP Morgan, has worked a fair bit of experience across multiple countries, multiple geographies, right from India to Germany to the US, and has now been running Wobot.ai as CEO for the last about 5 years, a little more than that, right? Wobot.ai currently builds AI solutions for analyzing CCTV data and then using that to drive operational efficiency, helping companies drive more revenues as well as reduce costs. I'll let Adit talk about it in more detail later on. Whereas for Kiran is CTO and co-founder of HUEX Labs. Prior to founding HUEX Labs, he was at Bank of America for over 17 years. Last 5 years of those were as vice president of architecture in the conversational AI group. So a fair bunch of experience in conversational AI. In addition to that, he's a very active angel investor and also on the advisory board for several startups. So thank you, Kiran, for taking the time to agreeing to hold this session for us. And I think over to you, Kiran and Adit, for the session now. Thank you. So I'll just be here. I'll just manage operational issues, if any, and just admit people, manage the chat, and you can run the session as well. If you need any help, I'm right here.
Absolutely. Awesome, Avish, and thanks for the great introduction. Happy to represent the Misfits community and host this mismatch session. And excited to have this casual conversation with Adit and understand more about Wobot and his genesis and his story behind, what's the backstory, what led to an idea becoming a startup and a business, and now thriving in this industry across geographies and industries. So with that said, thanks, Adit. Just want to hear some, how did the idea of Wobot came to be? Just let's get back to the basics and understand and share with the community the genesis of Wobot and why Wobot and why now? Yeah,
absolutely.
Over to you, Adit.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for having me, and Avnish, thank you for the introduction. Kiran, it was lovely chatting with you yesterday, getting to know you on a very, very brief call. I know we come from similar sort of industry focus areas, so looking forward to share more today. Every year that passes by, I sort of look back and I think, maybe this was the reason why we started Wobot, right? And you keep sort of realizing what you're doing. There are a lot of sort of reasons that are, building up to it as years go on. But, I guess one of the core reasons how we stumbled upon this opportunity or navigated our way to building out a video intelligence platform. I come from a M&A background. We've done acquisitions, between 2010, working for a buy-side company, conglomerate. I got an opportunity to acquire across 5-6 different sectors, cross-border. And one of the things we would definitely see at that point in time, this is 15, this is Germany, this is US, this is parts of Europe, India as well. We would see across these sectors, there was way too much prescription of processes, yet there was no feedback loop, right? And when we would acquire these companies, we would look at one of the fundamental reasons of it not being at its most optimal level. It could be a manufacturing plant or units of manufacturing plant, retail, what have you. There was always a checklist. There was always a process to be followed, and the end result of that was efficiency. It could be speed of service, it could be better hygiene, it could be better throughput, and yet, as I said, there was no real-time feedback loop on that. And we looked at cameras. We saw that cameras were looking at this. My co-founders had built a computer vision company in their past life. So we felt that this camera as a source could act, even if it was for certain use cases back then, as a propellant to be able to give real-time feedback, right? And so that was really the premise and sort of the thesis back then. US has been something that we have expanded over the last 1.5 years. And that's really where I think about the why now, the US market. Even back 2 years, 1.5 year back, there was labor shortage. There were a lot of things because of COVID, or even without that, that companies could better understand the value of this technology, right? This technology or video analytics has existed for a while, applied on security, and then now we see this transition of customers not thinking of this as a good to have, right? There's an understanding. The awareness stage is far behind, and so the understanding and it becoming more of a need, also somewhat of a standard in certain industries, is really the why now to expand and basically continue to go and add more value to our customers or the sectors that we serve.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great preview to what is to come in the next 45 minutes, followed by Q&A by any of the community members. But let's just double click a little bit on one of the industries you touched upon with labor shortage. And you brought up the important phase all of us have faced with COVID and pre-COVID and post-COVID kind of era. So, tell us about, did post-COVID recovery for businesses, kind of impact you, or did it help you? With some examples of applications of where you have your systems in place in those industries. Let's take, for example, double click into the hospitality QSR restaurant space. Can you first give an overview of what is this domain and how is your application fitting into this domain, and kind of double click on the value that you are deriving for your customers?
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, I'll just step back a little bit more just to introduce the platform also, and then dive into this particular industry. So Wobot is a video intelligence platform with a no-code interface, right? Because we understand that there are business users who want to consume things like speed of service or analytics around speed of service in a drive-through, which we'll shortly be talking about. And so it comes with about 100, several templates across industries that can easily be plugged into the cameras, and super easy to basically just start getting those insights. Now, if we then dive into the industry, which is basically QSR, quick serve, and sort of look at the transition. Also, we had big labor shortage during COVID, right? And we saw a lot of businesses accelerate during COVID. However, there were certain businesses, certain categories which have continued to grow, right? And we've been lucky to be in that industry where video security, video intelligence, video analytics, these sort of things have accelerated during COVID, and that continues to be adopted across industries. Specifically in quick serve, right? We've seen, and you're obviously from, you build products for that industry. That there are about 75% of quick serve in the US are drive-throughs, and drive-throughs is basically like an assembly line, right? If you think about it, it's just cars coming in and going out. So the main thing for a business at that in drive-throughs or quick serve drive-throughs is to make sure they can serve as many customers that come and reduce their drop-offs. What we do is we use existing cameras which are outside. We have a drive-through suite template which allows the operators which are inside cooking, inside at the cashier counter, or the management also, right? To be able to get real-time triggers as well as analytics around their speed of service, wait times at a station, the whole journey, how long it takes, right? Now, on the platform, it is configured to send notifications that are mapped to point of sale. So it can be more personalized notifications like, hey, there are 5 vehicles outside, or there is, average journey times have increased over a certain threshold. It seems like a clog, right? So this is a time when you want to be putting in your highest selling items, right? What comes further out of that is the demand-based staffing that you can also do, right? Knowing what is the demand outside, the staffing needs can be more dynamic, right? Within zones, for example, I said highest selling sort of items being thrown into the fryer, for example, right? Are there people available over there, right? The ratios of being able to know that if there are 100 vehicles outside, you should have about 4 people, 5 people inside, right? So those linkages between cameras, it's helped a lot of our customers in demand-based staffing, in knowing their wait times, and the triggers actually act as performance indicators for the people who are serving you food, right? So the dashboard, for example, is on a screen. When someone is driving by, you can see it, but it's meant for the people who are serving you food, and it acts as a performance metric board where you're seeing wait times, you're seeing queue times, you're seeing which car is where, getting the complete visibility of your drive-through in a virtual space. And then you're able to see your performance through leaderboards, through some of those things, metrics which play with the human mind to do better, to serve faster. At the same time, the drive-through suite for some of our customers also linked with order accuracy, right? Order accuracy, firstly, speed of service. Anywhere, our product can add anywhere between $50,000 to $80,000 or $100,000 in revenue basis new tickets, reduction in drop-offs, by just having complete virtual visibility of your drive-through and getting those triggers. Now, the drive-through suite also has the order accuracy element of it, where we know that, if you look at a KFC, you look at any of these, even at the highest level, right? 1 in 5 orders, 1 in 10 orders on an average is incorrect, right? And the cost is anywhere between 80,000 to 90,000. So by giving visibility through cameras in terms of, hey, is this the right ingredient based on the point of sales being prepared or being packed? Those kind of things help it stop there and then before it actually goes to the customer, right? And so the combination can be per location per year savings of anywhere of 150,000 to 200,000. The platform, and I just want to sort of pause off after this, and I'd love to see if you have anything else specific that you think I should dive on over here. But the product has been built in a way that it's completely productized. It can be used from day 0, day 1, but comes with a lot of these integrations, right? Because it's important to have the data talking like point of sales and some of the other data that exists to make it even more useful, right? So that's how we sort of build the product also, and I guess we'll talk more about it as this goes on.
Awesome. Just to rephrase, or rather give a summary for the community here, QSR is quick serve restaurants, which are everywhere in the world, but drive-throughs are more of an American phenomenon because of the integration of automobile, roads, and the food. And the drive-throughs are predominantly the most visited channel for interaction with the brand for food. So, what Adit and his team have built is an intelligence layer to the video stream, which are dumb devices by themselves. They are just streaming the video, but they have added the intelligence layer on top. But Adit, if you can share a little more, like these are disparate video streams from external outside the physical facility inside. How do you combine all of it to build your intelligence? And does it differ when you go from one brand to another brand in terms of video being it's a AI and ML application of computer vision? Do you need to retrain certain things when you move, or how does that whole configuration work? Little bit on the technical side, but a preview to the community would help.
Absolutely. I mean, firstly, let me say it's a challenging problem, right? A challenging problem in the sense of why was it not done sort of before, and some of those things, drive-throughs have existed for a while, right? So, just going a little bit back in time, we know that we've got loop systems, right? Loop systems are the ones that are installed beneath the ground, and they try to throw out similar sort of metrics, but don't get the same coverage, and definitely are restricted by the amount of use cases that you can build on the camera, right? Now, your question on the cameras are sort of all over the place. On ground, cameras, when they were installed for more security purposes, right? So then they were never sort of focused on, hey, this is the best angle for getting the vehicle features or whatever the use case might be. So we've been doing this for the last 5 years, where we have on the technical side worked on a few sort of frameworks, I would say, or models where re-identification can happen with certain level of occlusion as well, right? Re-identification can happen where a vehicle coming in might be first seen straight and then seen from a side angle, right? A feature that was not seen by the other vehicle. Why this is important to mention is because the fundamental of being able to give these analytics is to be able to track the vehicle across multiple cameras, right? You could do that with people also. But what was very important to us from the start was privacy, right? And sort of complying around that, even when compliance around that did not exist. So we don't do re-identification on basis of facial recognition or basis of license plate. These are basis what a human eye sees, right? If you're sort of seeing a certain feature, you would remember it by something specific that you were able to see. That coupled with learning mechanisms that has been continuously training our re-identification model, or let's say the vehicle model, for quite some time, has made it robust enough that today we have it across several brands. We have it scaled up across several of those brands also, and we've seen a time of literally 1 day to get this active, and that also is not a question of a day. It can be done in literally 30 odd minutes. The interface has also been built in a way where configurations basis that locations can be done, right? So there's that learning mechanism, the training of the model, of the vehicle re-identification, the person re-identification, of course, in a privacy oriented way, the methodology rather, coupled with interfaces that allow them to make it a little specific for themselves, right? Like something a little more, I guess, a little bit technical would be like drawing out ROIs, but sometimes you want to look at a region of interest where you want to be detecting the car, but you cannot always draw the region of interest, right? The vehicles can go anywhere. So building those sort of real world things into the model where it's agnostic to an ROI, right? And things that we were lucky to see over the last couple of years, having deployed this, that these are the challenges we're going to see, right? And you cannot scale this up if you go to every customer and say, hey, you know what, change your cameras everywhere, or I'll have to go back and train it. So that's why it's a tough problem to solve. We've been at it for a while, and we're happy that it works at a high accuracy level, in a more generalized way, when we think about vehicle detection or tracking or re-identification. Same goes for person, right? And then lastly, the interfaces, as I mentioned, is really important, because what the customer wants to derive out of it, right? Personalize it to, let's say, notifications, or personalize it to the dashboards they want to see, right? Those are some of the tool sets that are available in a no-code way that they can put together. And they're templates, right? So there are starting templates, which makes it super easy that, hey, I want to do wait times, I want to do lengths, I want to have demand-based staffing, couple of clicks, and you can get started and start seeing some results coming in.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, you brought up the no-code platform. So let's again little bit of tooling that you provide for your platform. Who are the end users? How do they get the metrics, and what kind of course correction they could do? For example, I'm sure if the order accuracy is a problem for one of the brands, that means they receive a lot of customer service or refund requests and so on. So how do you tie all of this together? As an example, if you can share, after installing, what happened with a business case of one of your clients' value that you after the system was in place. If you can shed some light on the tooling, the end user, and the end-to-end journey of it.
So the end user gets basically dashboards, right? Analytics, insights, mobile app, they're getting all the triggers. They have APIs to integrate with their own systems also. The no-code tool, right, which is a composition of various things, is meant for our partners, the integrators, the MSSPs, or VMS players where the solution is embedded, right? I can take an example of OpenAI, for example. OpenAI, Wobot.ai is embedded into OpenAI solutions. OpenAI is one of the largest sort of VMS players out there, and with that they have, firstly, as a VMS player or someone who has their own software, right, wants to embed it. There are product-led ways of how they can do it, right, rather than it being very custom. I won't get into the details of it, but something like as simple as an SSO, right, or something that allows them to add those sort of widgets that are from the platform itself, right? So that actually makes it seamless for the end customer in that sense. At the same time, when you're deploying these solutions, these use cases across, one of the customers, we're deploying it by the end of this year to about 20,000 streams, right? 25,000 streams. Now we're not deploying it. The integrator is. The integrator now has complete visibility through this no-code tool on each of those use cases that are running, right? We'll pick one use case, and let's pick the use case of a vehicle wait time. Now, the use case is built as a pipeline, right? There is a video feed coming in from somewhere. There is a model that is running for detection. There is a model that's running for tracking, a bunch of models, classifiers, and then you've got some business insights, right? You want to do a count with it. You want to do a timer-based thing, a color check, whatever it might be, right? What we build in the no-code tool is just blocks, like Lego blocks. There are templates. You just click on that template of wait time. All these blocks would come together, right? And then on the other side, you've got the whole tool set where you can drag and drop and put these Lego blocks together. So by just putting these Lego blocks together, you're building out a use case. A business user who thinks that, you know what, the vehicle wait time now needs to be linked to another camera, and tells that to his integrator so that they can check the number of staff when the volume goes up above 8 outside vehicles, right? 8 is just an example here. So you're adding another block to it. Rather than going to a technical team, you have these integrators and MSSPs which have been using this to alter the use cases, edit it, or build a new one, click deploy onto the device, right? Onto the edge device, or you can deploy it on the cloud also, right? So it becomes a great control. It gives great control to these integrators and MSSPs who have been striving for that, we've seen, right? We know that they've been in this industry. This industry functions through them. They are gatekeepers in some sense to their customers. And that's great, I think. But they sometimes struggle for control, right? A customer would come and ask them for something, and then they would struggle to be able to do that in enough time, or without involving whoever that use case has been sourced from. So this no-code tool allows them to do that, deploy it, and then your question on, you know, so we have like about, let's say, uh, 10 really large integrators, MSSPs using it, 20 medium, and about 10 sort of small ones, and a bunch of VMS players also. But I'll take one example of count, right? Let's say someone wanted to do a count case, and the camera angles are not optimal to look at the full person, right? To say, okay, person one, come in. The cameras are placed on top, above, where you can only see the head. So you would want to do the count basis head detection and not basis the whole full body detection. So on the no-code tool, all you need to do is just go change that, right? Literally go say, okay, detect the count basis this. Now, for a customer, which has, n number of locations, they can go do it at a camera level also, at a use case level, or they could just, spread it sort of across the whole account. And then the third layer is having complete visibility on the end customer's account, right? How many licenses they're consuming, how much help and support they would need. There's an LMS that's been built in for the partners as well as the end customers that they can use to sort of push it. And these sort of three things. In summary, you've got the whole device and camera management as one part of it. You've got the whole builder, as we call it, Wobot.ai internally. And then you've got the whole admin account. All sort of put together is the tool set that they get to manage edge or cloud video intelligence and their customers, most importantly.
Awesome. That's a good view across how the installation and how different parties are involved in making this come alive. Do you need to also integrate with POS providers for order accuracy reasons? Can you shed some light on that before we move to the other domains and some community users questions that are being coming in the chat? Just a little bit of preview on that would help.
Absolutely, not just point of sales, right? I think like our vision and was earlier also that the integration lies with whatever industry, right? The ecosystem that the tools that might exist over there. Point of sales is definitely important. We have integrations with several point of sales over there. We have several integrations with VMSs also, video management systems, camera OEMs. And there are certain other categories we think would be very useful, whether it is to send a trigger, right, or get a trigger from it. But yes, point of sales is something that gives extra visibility along with this. So simply sometimes you can just simply map it basis timestamp, and then there are other configurations that you can set also within the tool to be able to see how that mapping might need to happen for a specific use case. But yes, point of sales is great to have an integration over there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have a bunch of questions on the chat, so we'll take them at the end, hoping that some of it will get answered during this conversation. So in the interest of time, combining two different domains into one question, because we want to cover a bunch of other additional things. So can you shed some light on the other domains, which is, I believe from the page, it was about retail and manufacturing. Can you provide two examples across each of these domain as use cases that created significant value for your customers?
Absolutely. So another one is loss prevention, right? If you look at that category. Now, loss prevention is a very large word, right? So it's not something to be thrown around, I guess. So we solve it in specific ways. We help by monitoring billing standard operating procedures, right? We help by looking at certain types of inventory. If in terms of more percentage available than in terms of actually going and training that SKU, right? But loss prevention has been something that's in the industry in general, it's about 2%, 3%, and there are various reasons for why that 2%, 3% loss prevention or shrinkage is there. We help solve certain part of it, which is making sure the billing standard operating procedures, the returns that are done, Those are as per SOP. If something is seen, those are flagged off automatically. Everything is on a real-time basis, of course. Some of the examples would be like there's no customer, someone is fidgeting with the cash, or bills are being printed, and there's no customer. And those kind of things. That's the second category. What we've seen and what we call internally as in-store suite or in-store analytics has added a lot of value. Also, one of our customers, which is a really large paint shop, a retailer for paint, all across the US. What they wanted to solve for was get count, but get it without employees, right? Because how count works on some of the existing cameras is basically you get in and it's counting everyone in, right? But with our re-identification stack, we're able to detag the employees, right? And by the way, this tagging doesn't need to have manually. The model itself will look at the frequency of someone coming in, for example, right? And then automatically tag it, and then it goes away from the count. That was very useful for them to get an accurate count, right? And then link that to engagement, right? Engagement across the store, where is someone spending time, right? The staff SOPs, and then lastly conversion rates, right? So if you're tracking, just like we spoke about vehicle, right? If you are tracking people in a similar way, just to say again, we don't do facial recognition and we blur out faces there and then. So you're able to then give insights like these, right? Hey, someone came in and he went across everywhere, but then there was no conversion for that, right? So the conversion percentages and sort of analytics around that is also very useful. And then one thing that we've seen is the labor shortage existed in store also, right? So can someone do what is supposed to be one person's job if you have new insights on where to be at what time? Was done by two people, right? So one of our customers used this for just triggers when someone would be waiting for, outside on the order station, and there's no one there, right? So they would get those triggers automatically. And what happened with this juicery was that there was one person in the store. They would know when to go back and do the back of the house things, and they would know when to come in the front and do it. So this pretty much for 50% to 60%, they were able to better allocate these resources onto some of the other things. So, in-store suite is another thing that retailers use, and quick serve that have dining or in-store use that. And then on the manufacturing side, there is a cost of compliance, right? And there's a cost of non-compliance also. So we do a lot of work with manufacturers, or we have a lot of these use cases like slip and fall and not following standard operating procedures while climbing stairs, certain machine-related dangers that might be there, spillage. Those we call as the HSE suite, and that's very powerful for manufacturers. It helps them reduce the cost of compliance, but definitely applies to other sectors also, right? We've seen retailers wanting some of those use cases also, because safety is required everywhere, especially when you're thinking of like slip and falls and spillage detection and some of those things. These would be four. There are others, but yeah, these are sort of the four categories where we've seen good value added to the customers.
Awesome. Shifting a little bit of focus into the business side, and I know you talked about US as the market that you're expanding for the last year or two. Can you give a little bit of overview of what is the GTM strategy for this geo and the industry domains we just talked about, and what is your sales force looks like in actually making that GTM strategy work for you? So a little bit of overview on both of this together in the interest of time would help.
Absolutely. So, US, North America, other than the drive-through as an insight, right? The other insight is that they have 30% of, or 35%, I believe, integrators in MSSPS, right? So that sort of geo has been functioning through them, right? And this is not just for like video analytics, but also like think of access control, some of the other things that might be used from a security perspective, right? And I think the number is like 8,000 or 10,000, something like that, right? And that's the buyers are the end customers are buying from these integrators, right? The camera manufacturers are selling through these integrators. And so our GTM has been product led, but product led through them. That's why we build the tool set, right? Like we, it could be a loosely tight channel where they're generating leads and they're, we're contracting them for an integration, a project, etc. But we wanted to add value to them also, because we knew if we add value to them, which is so large, and that's how the industry functions, sales would happen on its own, right? Of course, it's easier said than done. It wasn't like we built a tool set for them and sales started happening. But the moment we were able to add value to this layer through product, through better control to their end customer, all those things that let them stick to this one platform than have multiple vendors, for example, right? And much more. We could see, literally, we signed up 10 integrators, right? In our form of channel last month itself, large sort of integrators. And the reason for that was that we're sort of giving them this stack, and through that stack, we're also building our GTM. So we integrators subscribe to it, and then they're able to sort of just make sure and they that this is deployed right to the end customer. So the GTM has been with how the market is, has been for the last 2 decades, by empowering these folks, right? But one thing from a product perspective, and sort of the last thing I want to add over here is that it's very important when we're building out a product for us to have complete visibility to the end customer, right? So that we can continue to build valuable templates for them and more sort of features that resonate, right? So we also sort of, with this product-led channel approach, we're also able to get that visibility and sort of communication. It's not like we're, living in a silo and just sort of selling to these partners. So that also has been very helpful to build out some of the features that the integrators are pushing to the end customer.
Awesome. It looks like you have signed up a lot of these partner agreements. So can you shed some light on the traction through these partnerships in the last 12 months? And what challenges are you facing along with the growth that is coming along?
Yeah, I mean, the year has been sort of, we added net, new revenue, committed revenue of more than a couple of million in annual revenue. We were able to get, some of the leaders in retail in their category, leaders in QSR, and a few manufacturers also. And US, as I told you, was 1.5 years back we started, right? So it's been sort of zero to where we are today in terms of traction for us. And so that's been great, and I think that's been sort of testament to these partners who've liked the product. And other metric that we also track is, do they go use another partner, right? Like, are they actually getting everything that they want for the category that we're serving, or do they need to? And we've seen that's also in the right place, right? Which is sort of our metric to see the stickiness with that partner, and then of course the end customer also. So that's definitely been there. And could you just ask the second question again?
Yeah, the challenges part of it, right? I mean, with growth, I'm sure you're facing more challenges. How do you supplement those in continue to grow? More on the challenges side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because we've gone from zero in terms of, let's say, US to where we are today. We had to build the right success team, the partner success, and then the customer success. Also, this was a little different from just sort of building a customer success team, because we have this product-led channel which is sort of the first layer for us. One of the challenges was making sure the ratio of growth of customers and the support is sort of available over here. We were able to come through with that. We hired the right people. We built out a partner success structure, which was able to not only initially onboard the customer, right? Or firstly get the partner, but also make sure that the partner knows everything about the tool, right? Knows how to use it, but also how to sell it. And along the way, right, we saw that, is this scalable? Are we going to sort of have people and then, have a sales with model? Are we going to continue to add more partner success? And one of the things that we are adding more and more and more is an LMS, right, which is coupled with the partner success team, so that the training can happen in a more scalable way. Some partners are, the like of, let's say, vector security or Securitas or someone like interface systems, right? Or even NAFCO for that matter. These are larger organizations, so they have structures. They have teams. They'll have sales engineers. They'll have a bunch of those people. As you start moving down, right, I think the LMS becomes that much more important. Whether it's pre-sales, whether it's post-sales. I think that was probably a challenge, but at the same time, we saw that as an opportunity to make sure that we build out the LMS and add all the valuable things, and make it again in an interface which people are used to today, which is chat, so that it becomes sort of a training tool for them, with certifications and things like that. So that's something we continue to solve for. But it's exciting to see that it's a solvable thing at scale also.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we have just about 12 minutes to the hour, but in the interest of time, briefly, can you share some of your competitors and how you're differentiating from them?
Yeah. So competitors. So I think one of the things that we're doing differently is we're thinking of the partner as our customer, right? And that starts building out your differentiators in your tool sets, in your GTM, in various of those things, right? That for me is one of our biggest differentiators, that we think of the partner as a customer and then the customer as an end customer, right? And so everything that has come about, the no-code tool or the model which is able to re-identify things across, has been because of that differentiating focus. And the reason to do that was that being in the US for 1.5 years, but being in the industry for 5.5 years, we've seen some of the pain points and the challenges that these integrators, MSSPs, or even VMS have, right? Scaling up advanced analytics versus just doing account, right? And we also realized that the space would grow where it is not just restricted to 20 use cases, 30 use cases. You're going to see video intelligence, or we already are, right? So many applications sort of being built around that. And that's where the struggle becomes even more for these integrators and MSSPs, because they'll be getting a bunch of these verticalized solutions, or, even if it is not verticalized, there will be this sort of layer, which is more a very custom integration versus a product that's been built for the partners. I think that's what we think of always. And then, video intelligence, video analytics is a growing industry. So we do come across some new companies which believe in the same thesis as us, early stage companies. And that's exciting to see also, that
Awesome.
bit of validation.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, switching gears in the last few minutes on the fundraising and such. One of your early backers is Peak 15, Sequoia. How are they thinking about video analytics and this domain in general as a space? Any thoughts you can share from working with them?
Absolutely. So I think, firstly, they're very bullish on video, AI, computer vision, and video intelligence, right? And overall, right, and I'm not speaking about someone specific at Peak 50, but their understanding of the industry is that we've seen video security, right, for a decade or more. We've seen three phases of that, right? You've had the analogs to IPs to now the VSAS as it's called, right? And now video intelligence is sort of in phase one, right? Where video intelligence is all about business intelligence. It's not really video security, right? We're not competing against a camera manufacturer. We're not competing, even though they might have some analytics and people might think, oh, these guys are going to go build a video intelligence stack. Video intelligence is something that is business intelligence, and business intelligence means that there can be so many use cases and so many applications, and it's just endless, right? So they're very bullish on it, and we've had a great journey so far. It's been early days, 2.5, 3 years, and we're talking about how to grow in the US now. Peak 15 has a US team also after the name change, and so there are teams to support over there also. So they're excited. We're excited about the growing space and the structures and the teams that are being built from their side over there. And we think March is a very, very March has this great visibility. And the interesting thing is whether it is March 2024 we talk about or 25, there is great visibility, right? And I think as an investor, as an entrepreneur also, that gives us a lot of comfort, and just excited, right? To be in video intelligence phase when it's becoming from awareness to moving to a ROI item, which is defined already, and then something like a point of sales, right? So
yeah, it is becoming an integral part of the business's success to derive value. And what kind of metrics do you want to hit before your next fundraise? Probably the last question before we move to the community questions that came in the chat. Go ahead.
well, I think nothing makes us happy than consumption, right? So we just want to continue to increase consumption. I think that's the simplest answer. That's our, I guess, the North Star metric. We look at number of streams. It's good to have visibility because we know we have a schedule. We're just deploying it as per that. But it means sort of making sure that visibility continues to grow in terms of the consumption. At the same time, and this was a talk that there was this Peak 15 retreat that happened 1 month back. We all sort of went for it, portfolio companies and all sort of senior management of Peak 15. And Shailendra Singh said one thing, that he showed sort of a graph, and that graph goes back 300 years. India, China, highest GDP. It was basically comparing different countries on their GDP. India, China, 200, 300 years back was the biggest, as we definitely know. And then, of course, we have now US and China. 50 years fast forward, right? India probably will be a 50 trillion economy, and others will also be a 50 trillion economy. So if there is sustainable growth, right, then you can be a very, very large company. Of course, you got to be in that 1%, 2%, but sustainable growth. So that means for us that as we continue to grow consumption, we need to we always want to make sure that those ratios of whether it's the product ratios or whether it is your support ratios, those are in line. We want our customers to have the best experience. Our first partnership was because a customer had a great experience. A customer called Press Juicery had a great experience with our product, scaled it up within record time, right? Like within 30 days, they were in 100 stores. And they went and spoke to a VMS that they were using. And that was sort of the start of 1.5 years back of having our first partner. And so we just want to make sure that with consumption, we have the right feedback, and people can enjoy the features that we build.
Awesome. This is exciting to hear what you have done so far and what lies in the future. Now, in the last 5 minutes, Avish, do you want to take up the questions that came in the chat? Or if you want me to continue asking those, happy to do that also.
Yeah, let's take up the questions that we have in chat. Yeah, at least the ones that we haven't covered in the call. So maybe you can just go one by one. I think the first one was from Mayank Soni about how Agile is the solution to serve other industries. For example, use of the platform for gas stations to get more customer insights versus QSR, which you're doing today.
Absolutely. That's really the purpose and sort of the stride that I was talking through and what we build here, that even without the no-code tool, a lot of the use cases that have been built out are relevant for multiple industries. Now you think of QSR drive-through, we're doing that same drive-through suite is used by grocers for pickup, right? For curbside pickup. It is being used today by auto repair shops, a shop which is supposed to repair things in 5 minutes, right? And then they use that to basically make sure that the efficiency is there and those demand-based staffing and all those kind of things. Similarly, we have a customer which is a gas station, right? We're at an early stage with them, but they're using exactly the same stack and they're literally adding cameras every day. So templates that exist are multi-purpose in itself, right? A lot of those. And then you've got the no-code tool where by just literally changing a few blocks, we've got, probably we've got like, I don't know, 25 to 30 well-oiled models across detectors and trackers and re-identifiers and things like that. So the possibilities within that also include classes, right? Like a model could do person detection, but could do 10 other types of detections. So there are several classes that are available. And so literally replacing a block and adding that can allow you to change the whole use case altogether, right? And then that tool also allows deployment to the devices, right? And sort of seeing the resource utilization that might be. We support OpenVINO, we support OpenVINO, Intel plus Halo, that's an accelerator, NVIDIA, of course, the Jetpack, which is Jetson, and that, outside of what's in the pipeline, these itself cover a large part of the deployments that might be there when we think of video intelligence in terms of devices. So being able to use the templates for multi-purposes that exist to build new templates and then deploy it across the devices that exist or use the cloud gives that flexibility and sort of the vastness.
Got it. Yeah. I think the next question is from Mohit, which says, given staffing is not modular and cannot be just a just-in-time resource, how reactive can a client be with your solution? So I'm guessing this is largely for central teams, and correct me if I'm wrong. Your solution currently helps central teams decide, okay, what is, or even for a certain management manager for a certain store would decide, okay, how do I make these changes? How frequently do you see clients making these changes? How quickly are they able to put it into practice?
So it depends what we're talking about, right? If you're talking about like, let's say there are 4 people allocated and now 3 need to be allocated, that's the change that you need to do to the store. I guess that's something that goes higher up, right? They're seeing the analytics over a period of time. What I was also referring to were real-time dashboards that today, one of our clients, Whataburger, for example, right? Those exist inside the store for dynamically guiding people where they need to go, right? Like you've got 4 people. I'm not saying they're going to say, okay, reduce 4 to 3, but those 4 people will know where to be. For example, queue buster, you know there's a big line, you come out with a queue buster, a tablet basically, to bust the queue. Those are real-time things, and that has to be real-time, right? Like milliseconds. So it depends what we're talking about. Demand-based staffing can absolutely be looked at from a macro, a long-term analytics perspective, but demand-based staffing could also be looked at from mobilization, right? Yeah, that's how current customers are basically using it. There are other examples. I know we don't have much time, but there are other examples just to sort of differentiate in terms of what serves real time and what serves more like a post analytics for the management teams to give. Every use case has both, right? Our use cases are tagged as what dashboard it goes into, but there's both these sort of things available, one for the people on the ground and one for the folks who are, sitting basically behind a desk.
Got it. And sort of the last question is, do you help clients identify and analyze individually identifiable customers? I think it's another sort of use case question. So, for example, he asks, how many times a month on average does a car fuel at the client's gas station? Would you be able to answer that? And
Same car, the same
yeah,
car.
same car.
So we have LPR, right? You can use LPR. You just need to comply with the things. You need to just basically say yes, 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 yes. We'll do this, and then you can turn it on, right? And so that's something that's not a default. You can turn it on. It exists.
Like, what is
Why I say
LPR?
you have to do it as an LPR is because you need long-term memory, right? We're saying someone comes back and those kind of things. Our use cases that I was talking about earlier is more in terms of a day's memory, right? Because you just need to make sure when it enters to it exits, you're identifying at each points anonymously the same camera. And so that's how that kind of a thing is used, as long as you comply with your state's regulation. Somewhere you're not allowed to use license plate, right? Somewhere you can only store it for 3 seconds. Somewhere you can store it for 3 years. So there are a lot of those things that are there, and that's why that's not a default that's available with us.
And yeah, one more question was, so what is your sales strategy for the US region? I think we've already discussed this in quite a lot of detail. A sub question for that was, what is the sales team size based out of the US? I'm not sure if you covered it.
So our partner sales and success team is fairly lean, right? So we have a couple of folks there, and then we have a lot of folks in the same time zone, right? So folks in Brazil, Mexico, so that from a support perspective, there are folks there, and then we have a team that works out of India as well, which is dedicated to that time zone, and we're adding more folks, right? So really the question on the challenge was also to sort of talk about where we're building, and there will be partner success and customer success teams more added over there. And partner success for us is doubling. It's sales and success at the same time, because a lot of the things are done through LMS and guided things. So it's not like you can't double up. So we'll continue to be lean, but that's where the hiring is going to be around support and success.
Got it. Sounds great. Yeah, I think we're at the end of the session.
And if I may add, right, our actually, if you look at our sales team is like probably hundreds and hundreds large, right? If we sort of think about how we're enabling, if we're enabling these folks well as our own sort of sales teams, like OpenAI, for example, OpenAI sales team is going and basically, Wobot, pushing Wobot from a video intelligence perspective, and then XYZ and ABC and so on and so forth. So that's why the whole LMS and the training piece is so important for us. So that our plan is not to continuously, add sales; it's to enable the sales that exist already in the US.
Awesome. I think we're at the top of the hour, and Avish, you covered all the questions that were posted in the chat. Yeah, just last closing comment. It was great talking to you and getting to know what Wobot does. And thanks for sharing all the details about your use cases and the market traction that you're having so far. Kudos to you and the team, and best wishes as you go through your growth story.